And welcome to a Wednesday night at the Sportscrew Radio Network. This is a Fantasy Fan Sportscast where a fantasy fan, me, Easy, talks to a fantasy expert, him, Chris Allen. Chris, you just got done drafted. I don't see any sweat on your forehead. Are you okay?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun, actually. Talking through draft strategy, draft targets, and just going over just like general fantasy football knowledge with clients, I think it's a lot of fun for me. It's almost cathartic.
We do have a lot of new listeners from since last year when we talked a little bit about this. You actually draft for people as a part of a website. People can use you to get them involved. And I think we've had that talk. Sometimes you're with them. Sometimes, you just walk them through things. Was tonight one of those where you two were in it together?
Yes. Yeah, actually. So it's through, so the company's called Draft Day Consultants. It's run by Denny Carter, who works with JJ Zacharyson on the late Living the Stream podcast. He also writes for 4for4 and a few other places. I put up a broadcast through StreamYard on my own channel. Sent him the link for it. We didn't record it or anything, but it was just so that he could hop in the broadcast with me, and then I shared my screen. Like I logged into his account and then kind of walked him through, my process and how we did it, and gave him some tips on who to draft, and then we knocked it out.
All right. So he's in the draft room and you're just communicating with him somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, so either if it's through, because we were on the phone for a little bit, but then I was like, let's, try the StreamYard thing. It might be a little bit easier, so we could like share screens, and all that. So you can do it that way. I've seen folks like do it on the phone together. I mean, that works too. I mean, however you are, like through Skype or Zoom or, something like that. I mean, those are all options that you can do.
Cool. All right. Mm-hmm. How many more do you have, or are you about done drafting for the year?
So let's see. Well, I mean, you can kind of see because his
schedule back there.
Yeah, that's him. I've got one. I've done 2 client drafts already, and I have one more on the 2nd.
All right. Yeah. And you're consulting. When you consult with people, sometimes it's just a draft thing and sometimes it's an all season thing, right? Or is it always
right?
Season? Okay.
Of the 3 drafts that I've done so far, one was draft only. The other 2 are going to be full season. So I'll be, offering like waiver wire acquisition. So telling them which guys to pick up, walking through like final rosters, who you should start sit, reviewing trades, all that stuff.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Now, do you ever just log in and draft for them and they're not even involved? Does it ever get that much where you're running the whole team?
Yeah. I mean, it can get to that level if they want it to be, because like for one of actually the client that I just worked with tonight, like while we drafted together, he was saying that he's going to be gone. Like him and his wife are going to Greece. They're going to be gone for the next 2 weeks. He was like, "Oh, you got my account info. You run the team. It's on you."
I see.
Like, oh, okay, cool. I can do that.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Well, okay, then that'll roll over into the Sportscrew Radio Network has their league, which me and you are participating in.
Yes.
And
the draft again?
And a few of our listeners, Sunday at 5, Chris. Do you need a consultant?
I'll probably just need a reminder.
So
you'll probably need to text me that the draft is about to start.
I have 2 drafts on Sunday. I have one at 1 and then one at 5, but I should be done, obviously, and they're both ESP. They're both online drafts. So, but, just a little shout out to the people that are in this league, because, again, it's full of Sportscrew announcers or hosts or podcasters. And then we were lucky to get a handful of our listeners from this show on there, which is pretty cool. It is a 12 team, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 2 flexes,
Okay.
a defense, 7 bench spots, PPR, 18 rounds, 3 keepers.
Woo!
Because we want to keep this. Now, there's obviously no keepers this year because it's a brand new league. But
right.
The goal of this league is to maintain it. And we've, so it should be fun. But they did the random, there's a video on Twitter for the people in the league where Lou randomly drew names out of a hat. And we got our draft.
Did he put it in the DM thread?
Yes, there's actual video in the DM thread of Lou. It's like 3 minutes long, or I'd play it. It's too long. But
there it is.
The important thing is you pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You pick 6. You are pick 6.
That's the worst.
I think the worst is pick 7, picking after you. And that's what I'm stuck with.
That works out then.
So every other round, though,
right,
you have to pick after me. So obviously that'll be fun. And then pick 8 is Dylan, who's a listener of the show. Okay. And he's pick 8. So we have him. Our Hawaii guy, Kevin Hastings, he ended up pick 12. He's a listener.
I'd much rather have his spot. Can I trade spots?
Kevin's in the chat room. Kevin, Chris wants to trade you pick 6 for pick 12. I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's ever any. Is there? I mean, can you trade picks? I mean, I'm sure Kevin might trade, and if you throw in like your 4th pick or something, I don't know, your 4th rounder. I mean,
no, I'm just saying, just trade slots straight up if he wants to move up.
I got you. Well,
straight up if he wants to pick the number 6 slot
instead of 12. I'd agree. Now that being said, I've already done a few mocks with this setting, and it's not terrible. I mean, obviously. I don't know. I believe it or not, I think 7 is a hair better than 5 or 6, because 5 or 6, there's still some decisions. I think even starting at 7, most of the decisions are made for me already.
Yep. I want the 3 spot or 10 or later, one of the 2.
Well, too late. For you to watch.
I'm gonna wheel and deal here. We're gonna figure this out.
That's up to you. But
where's Kevin at?
I'm saying Kevin's in the chat room. Kevin's in they're up. See, Kevin just said aloha to us. He is out there in the chat room.
Kevin, you want my 6th spot?
So if you are listening to us,
I will trade you straight up, sir.
On YouTube, you can join us in the live chat room there. We do pay attention to that. But in this league, I'll go just the names: Chad Smith, the real AA, Mr. Chris Allen, FFWX, your fantasy football weather expert, Kevin Hastings from Hawaii, our boy Cubby from Indiana, somewhere over there. We have Mr. Jim Ross, Mr. JR Slice, who's been a listener for a while. Easy Kill, that's me. Sean Smith, Dylan. Like I said, Dylan is a listener and happens to be my UPS. He's a sub in our UPS route, and he one day said something about fantasy football.
I saw y'all talking about that in the DM thread earlier today.
He's been listening to us for a while now, and he's never played in a league without just he's never played in a league except friends and family. So he's a little bit excited because he thinks will be a test for him. He's going to be playing with people who know what they're doing. And I think anyone who's done fantasy too for any period of time has run into those people that, I'm great at fantasy. I win every year. And then when you find out who they play or the league they're in, it's, Uncle Bob, Grandma, and, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, if you have some knowledge, you're going to be pretty competitive. It really does change when you get in a league with 12 people that know what they're doing. So,
all right, yeah.
It becomes a whole nother thing. We have Malpow, which I think Malpow got the number 1 pick. Lou Landers, he's down there at pick 11, 12. He's our Sportscrew. I don't know if he wants me to use the word leader, but he's the one that allows us to do that, to be here. So thanks, Lou. Mike Stromey, another football guy on the network. And then Jay Royce. So I'm not Jay Royce. I can't tell you who Jay Royce came from, but or it could be somebody I know. And unfortunately, sometimes you see someone's real name and you're like, who is that? But there you go. There's Kevin's answer to you. Seeing if you want to.
And not just the first round pick. You just take over my slot completely.
No, Chris, me and you side by side.
No,
brother.
I will trade him my 6th slot, and I will take his 12th slot.
All right, Kevin, you hear the offer out there. But maybe Kevin would want, if you don't want to be with me, then maybe Kevin wants the 7th spot. That's true. Whatever. I'm just saying. I'll throw it out.
I offered first.
So again, a pretty competitive league. A lot of people in this league have been doing this for quite a while. And then we obviously got a few of our listeners in there, which is pretty cool. Malpal's now joined us in the chat room.
What pick does he have?
Malpal is number 1. He's
I don't want a spot.
Number 1 pick. You don't want to trade Malpal?
I don't want that spot.
No, I don't. Right. I don't know. Maybe Malpal doesn't like the number 1. I mean, maybe Malpal wants to trade that.
I don't want that spot. I don't want that spot.
You don't want either? I don't either. I don't think I would. I haven't had it yet. I think the highest I've had is a 3, and then obviously my home league's a 12, and I screwed that one up, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
But so Jim Ross, JR, I didn't pay attention to where JR's picking. Oh, JR's picking 5. Well, that's pretty cool. So JR listener, then Chris Allen, then Easy Kill, then Dylan, all back to back to back to back. So obviously on this show, we'll be talking about this league as it moves forward, since a lot of us are there and involved. So Jim, I don't know that I want your 5th. I'd rather pick 7 than 5th. I'm sorry. 5th has probably the most decisions in the most case, because that's where Zeke's fallen a lot of times. But I got confidence in him. I mean, JR doesn't do very good at baseball. I'm kicking his butt in baseball. So I told him I wouldn't bring it up. I won't bring it up on the show. So
and you did anyway.
No. Well, when we hit record, I won't say it then, but JR Malpal's in the league, your old buddy. So, but it'll be fun. Cubby, like I said, the whole group. So we'll have a good time. And like I said, we now have a draft. We do draft Sunday, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. And we do have to say Eastern, because we have Hawaii in here.
Yeah.
California. We have Florida. We have Maine. We have Indiana.
And we figured it out. So like Hawaii is how many hours behind?
I don't know. Kevin's in the chat room. Kevin, what time is it?
4 hours?
I thought we did. No, I thought we came up with like 7.
Well, it might be 5. Maybe it's 5 hours.
Yeah, Malpal wants to know. He's never had the first pick, and he's afraid he might, take Mike Trout by mistake, because Malpal's a baseball guy. That's where I've been in another chat room with Malpal over the last few years. So,
right,
so he's a baseball guy, but he'll do fine. I got a feeling. See, some of these guys I think are laying back a little bit. In the DM, they're, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Whatever. They're just saying that. They're just saying, trying to get Easy off his game. But, Easy works hard. I work hard at this fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
Jim Ross has an NHL draft coming up on Sunday also.
Oh, okay.
I can't be in a fantasy league where I can't pronounce the names. I suck at real names. I definitely would suck at hockey names, which I think
me too. Yeah,
I do technically think they're real names. I just probably would not be good at it, but whatever. So there we go. That league will be fun. That'll be exciting. And like I said, when you get time, watch the video of Lou pulling the names out of the hat. I'm looking at it. It was 100% legit because it's Lou.
Oh, of course.
Lou
I have no reason to doubt Lou. I love
Lou either. Right.
Yeah.
So there we go. So thanks, Lou. It'll be a fun league. We'll have a good time. And who is Chris drafting at 7? Oh, they're already asking. They want your input. Well, one, he's not drafting at 7. He's drafting at 6.
I'm going to be drafting Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes at 7.
It's 6.
At 6.
Yeah,
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes at 6.
I think
that's who I'm drafting.
In a one quarterback league, I would. He's definitely the main guy.
It's either him or Josh Allen, one of the two.
Again, I've already done a few mock drafts, and believe it or not, usually DeAndre Hopkins. I think I got Connor once.
I don't want any of those guys.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes is already gone every time I do a mock draft with that.
Nope, just got it. It's either Patrick Mahomes. I mean, maybe
it takes him at 5. What?
Somebody takes him at 5. I'll just auto draft after that. Doesn't even matter.
Auto draft, right?
I don't even want to. I'm not even going to mess.
Speaking of that, we were going to talk about that. I heard you had Wi-Fi issues.
Oh yes, that was so tilting.
And your Wi-Fi went down. But we've had that discussion here, people. If you're not always, and I stress this to I have a draft on Sunday where I'm somewhat in charge at 1, and I always send an email and a text to everyone, set your auto draft parameters just in case.
Queue up some guys.
Right, go in there and say one quarterback or one tight end, put in there that you only want 2 quarterbacks and that you want, it's pretty simple. It's pretty upfront. You can even say, no kickers, no nothing until these rounds. It takes 10 minutes. And if your internet goes out or something crazy happens, at least your auto pick team has some respectful, looking picks. And
I think so.
I don't know how many teams were in the league you auto drafted, because your team actually looked pretty good. So I don't know if that's coincidence or
it was just that one. It was just that one pick.
Just one pick.
It was just the Mixon pick, which I guess kind of works out because with the whole Zeke stuff right now, I mean, at least I have another, fairly decent running back. Like if that winds up falling through. So, I mean, I'm not completely screwed, but I'd preferred Mike Evans at that pick. And so like my wide receivers kind of cascaded from there, but
so
it is what it is.
All right. Well, JR's making, questioning that you work at Fantrax, so you obviously know everything.
Oh no, I mean,
I think you know everything because of me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think that's fair.
I mean, I do keep you on your toes a little bit,
right? Yeah,
just a little bit. That's
right.
all. And now we have Dylan out there. Dylan, my sub UPS driver, is out there. And again, pretty excited.
Awesome. He's also in the Dayton area.
Yeah, he is in the Dayton area. So there's a few of us Dayton people. Dayton represents. There's three Daytons. I don't even know. I think might even be the only Ohio's. Everyone else, I think, is somewhere else. Malpow, his thing said San Diego. So I don't know if that's actually where he's at or not. I know Stromey, I think, is California. So we have a pretty good, a pretty good group. So it should be a fun week. Should be fun. All right. Nobody wants to hear our nonsense. You know that.
True. Yeah,
no one who's been to this show for my nonsense. Nobody. But I am going to bring it down a little bit. You know me. I give respect. We've done this a few times. We had a death in the sports world. Somebody passed away doing their sport, which to me, there is no, I'm sorry guys, there is no bigger, thing to do than, if you pass away doing, something, not just, I realize they're doing it for themselves, probably as much as anyone else, but, we had, and some people might say this isn't a sport. I know people question what racing is and isn't. And this is even different than that. This is, the woman's name was Jessie Combs.
Yeah. Did that happen
Tuesday,
yesterday?
I think. Tuesday.
Yeah.
Jessie Combs, 36, crashed and passed away trying to break the woman's world speed record. I think they were attempting to be at about 518 or more miles an hour.
Yeah.
She already held a few records at some other speeds. And again, we have brought up all of them. The bull ride. I mean, I just feel these people deserve a mention. I'm sorry. Everyone who does a sport, they do it for themselves first. but then, there's an entertainment aspect. There's people that follow these people. And she also was on a lot of TV shows, including she was on a couple of seasons of Mythbusters.
I didn't know that. Cool.
So,
I used to love that show.
If you go out there and see her face, and there's clips out there of her, you'll recognize her. I mean, she's 36 years old. Like I said, I don't know exactly how fast she was going or what was going on at the time. They were saying all the details would be later, but I said, I just, people who do those kind of things and risk their life, doing a sport deserve a mention, even if it's on a small show like ours. I'm sorry. It needs to be out there.
Yeah.
Like I said, just wanted to say that. And then the last kind of non-football thing before we move on to all the stuff that happened is kind of football. And that's this Carly Lloyd, the women's soccer player that kicked, I don't know.
55-yarder.
I've heard 55, yes. So, and now I'm hearing rumors that some NFL teams are talking to her. I don't know if that is, legit or ploy or whatever, but would you have a problem? Would you draft a woman kicker, Chris? I'm putting you on the spot right now.
Yeah. Why not? If she shows that she can do it.
Right. Especially if she can, hit 55 yarders. But here's what I know about kickers. Another gentleman, we've already talked about Wesley that is now playing for Washington Redskins. There's another kid in my community that grew up with my friends that was a kicker and a field goal and punter for Bowling Green. And he'll be the first to tell you, kicking 55 on a field with nobody around is not the same as kicking 55 yarders, with people, that are
people screaming, the game's on the line and all that. Yeah, I get it. Right. I get it.
So it is a different, man, I had a sneeze coming.
That's what it sounded like.
And I got it. Thank you.
There you go.
All right. Kevin is saying Hawaii is 6 hours behind Eastern time. So when we're drafting at 5,
okay.
Kevin's like having brunch at the Holiday Inn. So that'll be good. And Dylan's put in here he's a Bears fan. I might have to. I should have asked who he was a fan of before I let him in this league.
Oof.
So that's kind of. But I don't know. I think, will we see a woman in the next couple of years, or are we still a ways away?
I think it's possible. I mean, we already have women as like coaching assistants and like part of staffs already in the NFL. I mean, Bruce Arians down in Tampa, he brought on I think 2 female coaches this season. So I think it's a great thing to see that happening across the league. Right. So I don't think that we're too far off from seeing like women involved, I guess, on the field. It's just, I think that a lot of folks need to, I think as long as the brutality of the sport is a part of what's understood. Because I do think, because I heard, or like I listened to, I forget who it was. I think it was actually Keenan Allen that came out earlier today and spoke out that as long as they understand that, while kicking is their primary job, once that breaks down, kick is blocked or something like that, and they have to turn into a defender at that point.
Right.
Do they understand what the responsibilities of that are? And are they willing to put their bodies into harm's way in order to stop a linebacker or a gunner coming at them to try and get the ball or whatever? And that's something they're going to have to work through in order to make sure that they're capable of taking that on. So it's just something that we're going to have to wrap our heads around as fans of football, if that's what they want to do.
And the name is, again, I was a Miami Dolphins fan way back in the 70s, and Miami Dolphins had a little Polish kicker. And there's always a video there where the field goal thing was muffed from the holder in the center, and he's running and trying to pass it and throw it, and he throws it about 3 feet, forward, 20 feet in the air, and then he has to try to tackle somebody, and you could he was not able to athletically do the job, but sometimes you have to be an actual football player. So.
Yeah, I mean, remember, when was it? I think this was maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Sean Taylor, I mean, who blew up a punter.
Oh, yeah. I'm not even sure it was that long ago, but yeah, he.
He destroyed that guy.
Yeah, but wasn't it just last year where a kicker or a punter laid somebody out? On the side. Remember last year there was where one of the kickers or punters just clocked somebody in the middle of the field, which is always fun.
Or even I think it was Antonio Brown. What was it? Might have been 4 years ago or something like that, where he jumped and put his foot in the punter's face on a punt return.
Right. Yeah, I do remember that too. Yeah. And then Malpal, right. Women officials. I think there's a couple now in the NFL, isn't there?
Yep. Mm-hmm. There's a women's line judge. I don't know if there's I don't think there's the head official or whatever. I think it's a woman.
Right.
I think there's a line judge, and I don't know if there's a back judge, female back judge. But I know there are a few that are floating around the league nowadays. Yeah.
Well, let's get to the big news. We had a lot happen since we did our show a week ago, and the big news out of Indianapolis is that Brock Osweiler got a tryout. I mean, I'm just saying that is the big news.
It was inevitable.
And if he signs there, the important thing for fantasy players, start the defense. If he plays, if Brock Osweiler plays, you need to jump on that defense. Spend your tab money and get that defense. If Brock Osweiler plays in Indianapolis, I'm just saying that the big news out of Indianapolis, Brock Osweiler, which is a pretty rich guy. Brock don't need a whole lot of money. I think Brock's probably be the highest paid, the wealthiest, person on the Colts. Gary Premium. Thank you, Malpal. Gary Premium is the little Miami Dolphins field goal kicker.
Okay.
They were a really good team. The video of him trying to throw the ball is hysterical. I recommend that you do watch the video. But now let's get into the retirement of one. I think, would you agree that isn't the biggest news this week? And we'll talk about it, but every show's already done hours on it. Where do you come? Are you a believer that the Colts, because to me, this is the fun part, are you believers the Colts knew ahead of time and they did this for ticket sales and waited to this date, or they did this hoping he would change his mind, or do you think this was truly a last second thing and the Colts didn't know a whole lot? I've heard multiple stories.
I truly believe that once Luck figured out that he couldn't do it and he couldn't give it a go this season, that I don't think this was something that they've been kicking around for a month or even more than, I would say they might have known a few days in advance.
3 weeks. The rumor I heard was about 3 weeks. He kind of told them that he was considering it.
That I can believe that it was on the table.
Okay.
I can believe that, but I don't think that the actual decision for him to retire, that he made that decision maybe a couple of days beforehand, before we all found out.
Right. And I kind of fall on that side too. I know there's a lot of idiot fans out there that are trashing him and all that. And hey,
terrible.
It's up to him. It is terrible, but at the same time, I would have no problem trashing the Colts if they really did think it was going to happen, but had him put it off so they could continue selling tickets, and I think someone even said that their preseason sales cut off about the same day of the announcement or a day or two just before. So I don't know. Like I said, I was not a fantasy person on the Colts side right now anyway. I've drafted 3 teams now. I have no Colts, and all 3 of these drafts happened before he retired. So I have not been on the side of the Colts in any way. And I really don't think personally this hurts or helps many people either way. But again, you're the expert. Who does it hurt the worst, or does it help anybody?
It hurts the ancillary players. I mean, I don't think it'll wind up dropping the touchdown equity for T.Y. Hilton, and also our projections or touchdown projections for Marlon Mack. But everybody else after that, so if you had hopes for like Devin Funchess, nah. Eric Ebron, no.
So are you talking rounds even for the good players? Are you thinking, I mean, if T.Y. before this was a third, now he should be a fourth? Or are you like, well, no, I mean.
Yeah, I'd say kick him back to, I had him in my third-ish tier of wide receivers.
Right.
But then after the news, I think I pushed him to either like the end of the fourth, the early fifth tier. So if he was a third rounder, like 12-team PPR, like, that type of league, if he was a third rounder before the news, I'd push him to mid to the end of the fourth, somewhere in there, probably in the maybe early fifth. So around actually, I can just pull up since I just did a draft.
No, that's fine, because
I would say around like where Calvin Ridley, Robbie Anderson.
Are you on Team Bissett isn't going to be able to do it at all?
No, I think he should be able to
be okay. Yeah. Part of me still believes, if anything, I haven't been on Colts this year, but if some of them drop far enough, I would take a gamble thinking, who knows? We've seen players before that struggle, but then all of a sudden when it's their job, that they change, and he physically has the ability, I think.
I think so. I mean, this is not, I don't think it's of the same caliber, but if we wound up everybody.
But that being said, if he ends up throwing 36 touchdowns this year, would you go, oh, I didn't see that coming? But
I definitely don't see that coming. 36 touchdowns.
I don't either. But
okay.
My point is, I'm okay, but I'm not sure that we ever see 36 coming from somebody who's never done it before. But my point would be, if he throws 36, would we go, well, athletically, we knew he had it in him. They had a better line than didn't do it. They now game plan for his skill. That's why he did it. That's my point a little bit. I still wouldn't be surprised if he threw 36, nor would I be surprised if he only throws 22.
I'd be surprised if he threw 36, just because from the way that he played, and this is not to say that their 2017 season is the blueprint for how they're going to operate in 2019, because completely different team. I mean, different offense, almost like entirely.
The offensive line is the difference in like a D and a B plus possibly.
Right, and then also the offensive coordinator. They didn't have Frank Reich then.
Right.
I mean, it was completely different.
So that's my question then, Chris. I don't
hold
think
on. All I'm saying is that from that season in particular, his accuracy from both downfield, intermediate, and short was below expectations. Now, you can attribute some of that to the offensive line and all that, but I would say just as a passer, his talent as a passer, I think, is so far below Andrew Luck's that I don't think that 35 or 36 touchdowns is within his range of outcomes. I'd be really surprised if he hit that mark.
And I think I'd be surprised too, but I think I'll be even more or just as surprised if he only throws 22. I guess, I mean, the offense that's in Indianapolis should be a pretty good offense. We thought Andrew Luck early on, they thought Andrew Luck was the number one quarterback in some fantasy, circles, if not at least two or three. And that was because the offense got a lot better. Not Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck didn't get better. The whole offense got better. And like we've talked about in the past, coaches do different things when, the players are all, when the scheme is all around that guy, So I don't know. I will definitely I'm interested in watching. And now, like you said, I wasn't taking Colts before. I probably won't take them now for different reasons, but if a couple of them fall far enough, obviously I would take a chance, because I think that's the thing. I think there's more upside than low side with the set, personally.
I do, but I would rather pin, I guess, my quarterback, my quarterback hopes on guys in much better situations from a quarterback perspective. So I'm less inclined to draft.
Better situation in what? We've already said he has a better line. We already said he has great weapons. We can't argue that there's not, above average running backs, above average wide receivers, above.
So then who are you going to draft ahead of him? I mean, who would you draft before, or who would you draft? I guess like instead of, like for where do you have him ranked
in a one quarterback league? Nobody, and we all know that nobody.
Well, that's my point. So if you're not putting him ahead of anybody, then there's really no sense in drafting him to begin with.
As a fan, though, that's still what I'm trying. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how much difference does that quarterback spot make that it's Bissett versus Luck? Because everyone already had Luck in this offense much higher than even Luck had been. But then we take Bissett that we think, I don't know, people must be thinking he has no skill because we're putting him on that same great offense, but we're giving him no credit or no consideration that he's going to be able to do better. That's my thing. My point would be, there's a chance he could be the one. He could be that sleeper this year. He could be the guy that no one drafts and you get in your waiver wire. And week 3, you start going, hell, he's throwing for 300 yards the first 2 games of the season, or that type of thing. That's all I'm saying. I have to
see how that happens.
Okay, and that's my point. I'm not drafting him either. But at the same time, it just seems like we're I like the kid. I think watching he looks like someone who should be a quarterback. It looks like somebody he physically looks like somebody who should be better than a lot of quarterbacks.
Something in my hair.
No, you're still looking good. You're the one that looks good on the show. All right, I'm really interested.
But I think for the big thing though, I guess, is what we're gonna do with T.Y. Hilton and what we're gonna do with Marlon Mack, and that's what the point I was trying to make earlier is that slide those guys a little bit farther back, because I think with T.Y. Hilton, and this is the analogy that that I think is proper for this particular situation, is that we all freaked out about DeAndre Hopkins' value when Deshaun Watson went down. And then Deshaun Watson went down, and then in comes like Brock Osweiler, and DeAndre Hopkins was fine because good wide receivers can overcome their situation.
Right.
So I think that if we think that Jacoby Brissett is at least, let's say, replacement level. So that's why, again, I'm not necessarily going to go out and draft Jacoby Brissett, but I don't think that he's such a drop off the cliff, like poor quarterback play, that it's going to completely tank an alpha wide receiver in T.Y. Hilton. So I'll just slide him back a couple of rounds.
Take him over Stafford?
No.
I would say a 2 quarterback league. Right now, neither one of those are going in a 1.
Still no.
You would take Stafford first.
Yes.
Which of those 2 would you be more surprised it throws 35 touchdowns?
I would still be more surprised if Jacoby Brissett threw 35 touchdowns.
No one thinks Stafford's going to throw 35 this year either, based on where he's being drafted and all that. And my argument would be Indianapolis has a better line and has a little bit better offensive coaching and just as many weapons, if not more proven weapons than what Detroit has. And my point is, athletes, it's his team now. Something changes mentally than when it's just you're filling in for 3 weeks when Luck's not here. You're filling in for 8 weeks when someone's not here. It's your team. I mean, there's a different mentality, I think. I'm excited to watch. I really am.
Oh, me too. I mean, I'm 100% interested to see like how that entire offense winds up.
Right.
Because I think Jacoby he's a decent quarterback. He still has a lot to learn, but I still think that I think the Colts are in at least a decent enough position that they have a chance to at least maybe wind up in a wild card situation. Because I think their win total dropped from, it was like 9.5 was their projected win total. It dropped to maybe 7.5, somewhere in there.
Well, and that's the next thing we're going to talk about is Lamar Miller injury happens in the same division. If anything, Luck retire and move the Texans up, then Lamar Miller gets hurt, kind of moves them back down. I think that division right now is kind of up for grabs. I don't necessarily yet put Texas ahead of the Colts.
Oh, I would immediately. I mean, they've got Duke Johnson to back up Lamar Miller, and Duke Johnson was a much better running back than Lamar Miller.
He's proven.
What are you talking about? He's way better than Lamar Miller.
Oh, no,
way better.
How do you based on what?
He outperformed Lamar Miller. They both went to the same college, and Duke Johnson is a heralded like a college running back, and they went to the same school.
Play me the what I did in college violin, because we also know in the pros that doesn't matter.
How well has Lamar Miller really done, like throughout his like NFL career?
Okay, I'm not going to argue that. What my argument will be, Lamar Miller with Duke Johnson, I thought was a great combination. Duke Johnson with Duke Johnson, I think is still a question mark. To me, no more or less of a question mark than Bissett. That would be my point.
No, because I mean, if you look at Duke Johnson's touches over during his time in Cleveland, he was one of the most efficient running backs that to ever touch the ball. I mean, he was much more efficient on his touches than Lamar Miller ever has throughout his entire NFL career.
You're arguing that based on him getting 8 touches a game, not 15 or 18.
But Lamar Miller doesn't have the explosiveness. He doesn't have the lateral agility. He doesn't have the pass catching chops.
Okay.
None of that.
So you still think Texas now is a step ahead of the Colts? They're
without question
to win that day. I still don't see it. I don't see
without question.
Without question, I might. I don't know. I think it's going to be closer we think. So, do you think the Texans, which to me this is back to important for fantasy, do the Texans get another running back? Which to me,
yes, that I believe. Yeah.
But if they're going to do, why would you do that if you have Duke Johnson, the greatest running back of all time?
Because the only players that they have behind them are rookies, so you at least would want some sort of veteran presence that they know could carry the load behind them.
Okay.
That's just like with the Dallas Cowboys having Alfred Morris behind Zeke Elliott. I mean, so it's not like they're thinking that he's going to wind up taking over for Zeke. It's just that you want somebody that can come in, that has a proven track record, that can wind up picking up the load if Duke Johnson were to falter.
Man, you always try to make me look bad.
It's just a logical progression to think. They can wind up signing signing Doug Martin, Jay Ajayi, any of those guys.
Okay. Any of those guys. Okay. To me, those guys, Doug Martin and Jay Ajayi are two different those guys. Doug Martin, he's a those guy. If they sign Doug Martin, that's insurance policy. If they get Jay Ajayi or somehow end up with an Adrian Peterson or somehow end up with
Adrian Peterson, come on now.
I'm telling you the names I've heard today on other shows. So if they get Drake from Miami, those are I think there was 4 names. Those are the 3 I remember off the top of my head that, Buffalo. Who's Buffalo's starter?
TJ Yeldon? Well, he's not the starter. LaShawn McCoy. Those are the 4 names that I've heard. Really, from Buffalo? It should be TJ Yeldon. He's the one that most likely is to get cut.
Well, no, the rumor they were talking about today on one of the shows I was listening to with McCoy is just the way his contract. He's not going to play there next year. The whole thing would be if they just could get a draft pick or something out of him, and they would just use T.Y. Hilton and who's the 90-year-old man on their team. They would just stick with that. Now again, those aren't. I don't know, but my point is, 2 or 3 of those, I could see. I could see Jay or Peterson going there and being the first and second round back, down back, and then Duke Johnson being the third down back and the guy that they use when they're down. So
no,
okay, you're saying they would get those guys to be backups?
Yes.
Now, Peterson or J.J. I don't think signed there to be backups.
Yes, they would be signed to be backups. Why would you grab a 34-year-old running back in order to play first or second down on a team with a poor offensive line? That makes no sense. And then for Jay Ajayi,
he ran 1,000 yards last year, and Jay Ajayi before he got hurt with ACL was one of the better running backs. I mean, we can question whatever, but
he got cut from the same team he got injured with, who's on a pretty good offense. So I don't understand why couldn't they keep him if he was so good?
I think that was a contract issue. They didn't have to pay him. They signed him for more money. Then he got hurt. They didn't want to pay him the money.
But Eagles, they rather bring back Darren Sproles than Jay Ajayi.
Well,
come on now.
They're not. Darren Sproles ain't going to play that much either.
But they brought him back, but they didn't bring Jay Ajayi back. That says a lot about Jay Ajayi.
No, the last time we saw JJ on the field, it's no question that he wasn't, even in fantasy, he was a viable fantasy player. He was. I don't know.
JJ got replaced by Jordan Howard and Darren Sproles. That's not good.
But no, he got hurt.
But I'm just saying, but they didn't even bother to bring him back. They brought back Darren Sproles and they signed Jordan Howard.
Okay. My stepfather still believes if a car has 100,000 miles on it, it's useless. Even though nowadays they build cars to go 500,000. There are still people in football that believe if you've torn an ACL, you're useless. It's been proven now. ACL is almost like Tommy John. You get it done. You sit out 9 months and you come back. I'm sorry. Yeah. The ACL is not what it was. The torn ACL isn't my daddy's torn ACL anymore. It's different. So all I'm saying is the last time JJ was healthy, he was a viable fantasy player. So we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Which makes fantasy fun and exciting.
Of course.
So then, obviously the holdouts, the rumors are spread even more. I think since last week we talked, it went that definitely Gordon wasn't going to sign till week 8 or 9, and that Zeke would definitely now, I'm hearing rumors now, they're pretty convinced he'll be back by game 2 is what I've heard today. A few people.
Yeah.
Any quick opinion on the holdouts?
At this point, we don't know anything, and anything that we read on Twitter or whatever is just posturing. So we don't know what's going on. So I'm not going to speculate.
All right.
I hope they make it back. I hope both of them get paid and they make it back in time.
Well, I do too. Where are you drafting either one of them right now, or are you just not?
Well, I just drafted Zeke last night at 5. But I've been of the mindset that Zeke was going to get his deal done anyway. That's been my opinion since the jump. But either way, but this whole, it just came down today, I think, or within the last day and a half, that Melvin Gordon's going to be back for week 1. So that was kind of surprising to hear that change in, I guess, tone regarding his whole situation. But regardless, I've been more apt to draft Zeke Elliott just because what's behind what he has in terms of competition is much different than what the Chargers have. The Chargers have Austin Eckler. They have Justin Jackson, who both, at least in their roles last season, were able to play fairly well, when Melvin Gordon was out with injury. But for the Cowboys, they have Alfred Morris and they have Tony Pollard. So a veteran. And then they have a rookie who played some Wildcat quarterback in college. So yeah, I guess it's hard for me to see them being able to reproduce what Zeke can do with a guy of Pollard's stature, although that's what they are posturing or saying that they can do. I think in today's NFL, given some creative scheming, I think it's possible. But it just seems like they'd have to, I guess, rework the offense around Pollard in order to make that happen, more so than what the Chargers have to do with Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson. That's just me.
That being said, I personally have dropped, with Zeke not in Dallas, I've dropped almost everyone else in Dallas. But Gordon not being in with the Chargers, I've not changed anybody. So I've kept the tight end up there. I've kept their 2 wide receivers. I haven't moved them or done anything. Cooper, hey, I can't ever say the word. I had plantar fasciitis, something titus.
Plantar fascia irritation.
I had that last year playing softball, real man sport. I wanted to cry. I would have to take 2 weeks off, rest, thinking I'm better. I'd run one time or step hard. Boom. 2 weeks. It was maybe I'm old now, but it was one of the most long lasting pain in the ass injuries, because when you run or stop hard or whatever, it's there. Man, I don't know. So obviously that, I don't know. Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me now if, Randall Cobb isn't the number 1 guy now in Dallas. He's gonna, they're gonna dink and dunk to him, which they did in the last preseason game. I think they threw 3 balls to him at 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. But,
no, Michael Gallup. It's going to be all
I
Michael Gallup.
think Gallup's going to be fine.
Mhm.
But again, someone else is going to be there. If Zeke's not there, someone else is going to catch balls out of the backfield or from the slot. And I think Randall Cobb, if Zeke doesn't sign, Randall Cobb is worth at least keeping on the end of your bench or at least him on the waivers.
Yeah.
Because
that's what I'm saying. Like the Cowboys offense almost has to change slightly without Zeke being there.
I agree with that. And I think it hurts Dak. I've really dropped Dak quite a bit. Because again, they're going to force him to do things. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a busy, we have another show next Wednesday, the last day before the first game of the season. So hopefully we'll have a lot to report that day and maybe not.
Hopefully.
We thought that last year with Bell.
Sure
we didn't report anything other than Bell was still not in camp. So it makes it kind of hard. So any other big news? I know McKinnon's hurt again, which I don't think many people were drafting him real high one way or the other.
I love the Jet, but oh well, that sucks.
Right. The Bills signed their kicker to a 2-year deal. I think that's big.
Steven Hauschka, former Seahawks kicker.
Yep. They gave him 2 or 3 year extension, I think.
$8 million, I think, was the total deal. Hey, $8 million for a kicker.
Let your babies grow up to be kickers.
Kickers or wide receivers. That's about it, man.
Right. And then I don't know. I have a problem with these suspended players being thrown out. These are young gentlemen that have a lot of influences in their lives. I feel, sure, suspend them, don't let them play games, maybe don't even let them practice. But come on, let them be a part of the organization, because I think some of these players, like the Josh Gordons and some of those, would Josh Gordon have had all these problems if the NFL would have just not let him play games, but still let him be a part of, the organization where people could watch and help and do all that.
Yeah.
I think this is terrible that the NFL is telling him he can't even be around.
I'd have to, because I saw the press release on that, and I'd have to read some more on, I guess, what their logic was for banning him from the facility, because given his track record, he's from the Cleveland area, or from Toledo, I thought, or somewhere in there.
That's the way they've always done with suspended players.
No, because they have other suspended players that are allowed to, what's the guy's name? Chris Herndon for the Jets. He's allowed to still be in the facility.
Well, he was allowed to be in the facility, and now I guess maybe I didn't read, but I thought all this happens once the season starts. That once the season starts, you just can't be around at all.
Yeah, which is just an odd thing. I don't understand. I don't understand what's the reasoning is behind it.
When Josh Gordon was suspended, he was not allowed to be on the campus. Period. You're not allowed to be there, and that's always been their way. The only and I can't remember names. If injuries are involved, you're still allowed to use the facility for injury stuff because that's part of the agreement. But once you're injury or you're done with the medical people, then you're gone. You can't, participate or be around the campus. Right. I just think I don't know. I just don't like it. I'm
wondering if it was if it's for substance abuse and there's a concern that they might still have access to painkillers or some of that stuff that might be available at the facility.
He's not suspended for that reason.
I'm just thinking in general. I'm just thinking for suspension in general. If you were suspended for substance abuse, PEDs and stuff like that, maybe that's the reasoning behind it. But that's not the case with Kareem Hunt. So I don't understand why they would ban him from the facility.
I just don't think they trust teams and ownership to keep the guy away from practices or meetings. And that's my point.
What's the harm in that?
I agree. I agree 100%. I don't think there is any harm, but I think it's the way the NFL just says, no, that's where we draw the line. We can't police it, so we're going to just say he can't be there at all. That way,
sense to me.
I agree. I think it's just crazy that these guys aren't allowed to at least be around the organization. Antonio Brown, I think, has a helmet, so I think we're going to see him play. Have you moved him up or down, or have you not moved him at all, figuring he was going to play from the get-go?
Well, I figured he was going to play from the get-go, but I don't have him. I haven't drafted him
I don't have him either
at all. I will not take him at cost. Like at
just,
the early third round, I will not take him there.
I just don't do that with anybody. I gamble at the end of my draft, maybe once in a while, the 8th round. I mean, but I'm not gambling in the first 2 or 3. There's other people in round 3 that I'll take a chance. And yeah, sometimes those gambles pay off. Now, if he dropped to maybe the very, very end of 3, somewhere in the 4th, I might say, okay.
That's about where I do it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Now, him and Gordon, both, if you could get Gordon in the 4th and Antonio Brown in the 4th, would you take one or the other or neither?
I would probably I'd take Melvin Gordon in the 4th. I've just
over Brown then?
Yes, over Brown, because there are much more. I think there are receivers that have, at least the way that I'm thinking about it, have a much better path to paying off their ADP. Because I mean, tell me how Antonio Brown pays off a 3rd round ADP when he's switching teams, hasn't practiced a lot with the team during the offseason, and he's going to a quarterback that's like either at or below replacement level.
Right. Wide receivers, when they switch teams, struggle almost every time. Actually, in the NFL, any position player that switches seems to very rarely, does it go the other direction. So I agree.
There's just too many things that are working against him at this point. So I'm just not really seeing the value in drafting. I mean, don't get me wrong, Antonio Brown, Hall of Fame wide receiver without a doubt. I mean, talented wide receiver. But I guess I'm struggling to see how he drags Derek Carr into like maintaining like wide receiver 1 status. I guess I don't see it.
All right. And
I'm more than happy to be wrong on it. I hope he succeeds, but I'm not going to draft him there.
Now, the last 5 minutes are for me, and that's important. What do you think of the rookie Whiteside in Philadelphia?
JJ Arcega.
Thank you.
No, I think he is. So I guess backtracking just quickly, what Philadelphia is doing, I think is awesome. I think from a team building standpoint, because all of their aging veterans that are superstars, they're essentially drafting their replacements. Zach Ertz, meet Dallas Goedert. Alshon Jeffrey,
that's true.
Deshaun Jackson, meet JJ Arcega-Whiteside. So that's what they're doing. I mean, as their cost and their contracts become too much for the team to handle, they're basically backfilling their positions as they draft. And JJ Arcega-Whiteside, he fulfills like essentially both roles because he's fast on the outside. He doesn't have the same hands or the same speed as Deshaun Jackson, but if you squint like really hard, you can kind of see him. And the same thing with his talent as a boundary perimeter wide receiver. The same thing is what they would like Alshon Jeffrey to be, assuming health and all that. So I think he's talented.
And then Deshaun Jackson now has a broken finger.
Correct.
They're now saying, I've heard originally he was going to miss 1 or 2 games. Now they're saying no, he'll probably play in game 1.
Yeah, he's supposed to get a custom splint. And we'll find that out, see if that works. But
we've seen that. Wide receivers with finger problems usually are decoys more than they are, they're not, most of them aren't getting 8 passes in a game,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I would have trouble playing Deshaun Jackson until I see he's a full participant if it was me. So that was my point. Let's say he is not himself or misses a game or 2. Does that definitely move Whiteside up even over an Aguilar and there was rumors on a couple shows today saying they've heard rumors that Jeffrey was available for trade if the right offer came around. So,
was it Laurie, I think is the last name of their GM, if I'm not mistaken, but either way, I mean, they're always, pretty much open for business because they're up against the cap, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
They're one of the teams that they play.
I am setting all this up because it's really important because this is now here because on my main league, which I have people now listen to my podcast in my league, but I don't care. I don't care. I'm a good enough player that if they know what I'm doing, they still can't beat me. You know,
Yeah.
I am the Lombardi of our league. You know, I'm telling you, you still can't stop me.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you've already made fun of my JJ. I have JJ at the bottom of my roster because I feel there's some places he could end up where he is he could be a high end number 2 running back. That's my opinion. We already had that discussion. My question is, though, because I have a weakness at wide receiver, should I have JJ at the bottom of my roster or should I have Whiteside at the bottom of my roster? Who is more likely to pay off if things go well? Because if things go bad, I'm cutting either one of them because they didn't cost me anything. But which one am I more likely to go, I'm glad I have him, I don't have to spend my fab money. I'm glad I have him, I don't have to use my waiver wire spot. Which one is more likely to give me, and I'll say the same thing with Whiteside, number 2 wide receiver numbers, or JJ giving me number 2 running back numbers? Which is more likely?
Secret option 3, neither of them.
Neither of them.
How about Miles Boykin or Jalen Hurd? How about that?
Oh, you're a big Boykin guy.
I think he's already showing out in preseason. He's been connecting well with Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown is coming back from the
Miles Boykin, okay, in that league, he's available. And who was the other one?
Jalen Hurd, San Francisco 49ers.
Jalen Hurd.
Or if you want to look for a better running back option.
I already have Hurd on my well, here's the problem. We've talked about my home league. I have wide receiver issues. I am hunting easy needs a wide receiver.
DK Metcalf, he probably was drafted though.
Yes, he is. Hurd is not, and I already have Hurd on my watch list. I just put Boykin there. Unfortunately, I'm not a San Francisco offense guy yet until I just see that, you know, their quarterback is back and they're going to be doing the same things. Hold on, because here's my issue. I picked a bunch of wide receivers that had upside, but now they're, you know, either hurt more or they're not coming back or they're now going to miss the first week. And I have Corey Davis, which is okay. I have Anthony Miller, who's been hurt, but now back to practice. I have Kiki Kuti, which I don't know what the hell. I don't know what he's going to do
for week 1.
Actually, right now, I think John Brown's looking to be maybe one of my best.
That's a good pick.
I know. Pick. I have Devontae Parker, which the rumor is Kenny Stills and Drake going to Texas for Clowney. I don't know if Stills leaves Miami and Fitzpatrick is the quarterback, I have no problem starting Devontae Parker.
Oh yeah.
So, but that would problem. Then I have David Moore, who's now hurt. I thought David Moore had a shot at being the number 2 in Seattle. He's now hurt. I have Marquise Lee, who I thought if he came back healthy would be a good thing. So as you can see, my wide receivers all have question marks. Other than John Brown, and his question mark is that he's John Brown and he's at Buffalo. So that's part of my problem. I'm more, and my running backs, you know, I mean, I'm starting Gurley and Williams, Cohen. You know, I have Chase Edmonds, I have Malcolm Brown, Jalen Samuels, and Ronald Jones. I just feel I'm much weaker at wide receiver. And that's why I personally think if Whiteside, if things go well, he could end up week 6. He could be Philadelphia's number 1. I mean,
or if you want to go even super deeper, like super deep.
Well, no, all 3 of the names we talked about are available for me. So
what about Damian Willis? Plays for our Bengals.
I do have him also on our list. The issue there is, you know, once
AJ gets back.
Yeah. So I don't know. And we've had that discussion. You know, I struggle with just having Bengals on my team. I like to keep my real life and my fantasy out of the way.
Things easier that way.
Now, Dylan, my UPS guy, is telling me to pick up Boykin, and he's saying there's too many mouths to feed in Philly. I understand what he's saying, but to me, that's the wrong way to look at it. I look at it, if I can get the number 2 in what could be the number 1 offense at the end of the season, that's fine with me. I still think Philadelphia's going to score a lot. And if you get their number 2 wide receiver, or even someone who ends up being the number 1 wide receiver, it could have great upside.
Yeah, I mean the whole like the too many mouths to feed thing. It's hard for me to get behind because there's too many mouths to feed in LA, too many mouths to feed in Los Angeles. Well, both teams, the Chargers or the Rams.
Right.
Too many mouths to feed. I mean in Tampa Bay now with like Evans, Godwin, OJ Howard. I mean there's too many mouths to feed on a lot of teams, but they wind up producing.
Right.
I mean,
and where Philly has already proven it before is they score a lot of points. They don't have the sexy, top fantasy scorer all the time, but they have many of people that are good supportive roles on your fantasy team, which is important.
Yeah, I'd rather, it's all about like which team you want to invest in for their wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3. I'm not investing in Detroit's wide receiver 3.
Right. And
I would invest in Philadelphia's wide receiver 2 or 3.
Or the Bengals. The Bengals number 3 to me is a question. I don't want the number 2 or 3 on a bad offense. I want to try to steal the number 2 or 3 on a good offense. Which is why the 3 guys in the Rams are so popular.
Right.
People know they're going to score a lot of touchdowns, so it can be passed around. So
exactly,
which makes it fine. And like I said, it's a 2 quarterback league. I've got 2 of the 3 or 4 top quarterbacks. I've got the top tight end. I've got 2 what could be number 1 running backs. I just need my wide receivers to be competitive. I just need my wide receivers to be okay. But to be dominant in the league or win a Super Bowl, I really need to find that one wide receiver that pops. And every year there's those 1 or 2 guys that, come out of nowhere and boom, they're fantasy gold, baby. Fantasy gold.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to build your roster, is to try and look for guys that can benefit from shifts in volume. So you do want to try and stack the back end of your roster. If it's a deep bench league, stack your roster with guys that can benefit.
And mine is deep, and that's my problem. It's like right now, I'm getting close to where I might just, Marquise Lee is probably worth cutting almost if he's really not going to play the first couple of games, and then who knows, maybe I can pick him up. But
go get you Dontrell Hilliard.
But he has proven to be a good wide receiver if he stays healthy for more than 2 games.
Yeah.
That's my point. Right now, if I, even out of what I have, I can, I should be able to pick, hopefully 3 of them, because my flex, Tariq Cohen is my best flex player by far, because he's a running back that's going to catch the ball. So it really is, right now, my starting lineup wide receiver is Corey Davis, Anthony Miller, and John Brown. And as long as they give me 15 to 20 points, I should be competitive because I should win the other categories.
That's full PPR?
Full PPR.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and like I said, I don't know. Like I said, and hey, I would love nothing more than because of this team, and I don't have Kenny Stills on any team. I would love for Kenny Stills to go to Texas. Because I do, because I have Deshaun Watson. I think he would help. I think he'd be great for Deshaun Watson.
My issue with that is it kind of caps DeAndre Hopkins' upside, because that's another outside receiver that he can throw to.
I just think it gives him. I think it would not change him a whole lot, and if anything, it knocks Fuller down some. But I don't know. Which we didn't even talk about, Clowney. Do you think we're going to see him in a Texas uniform?
Probably not.
I kind of think the same thing too.
Yeah.
Now, back to what we're talking with Philly. I think him becoming part of Philly's defense for real football is a good thing. For fantasy, I think it's a bad thing, because if their defense gets even better and they only have to score 21 points to win, now you've slowed down an offense. I like the idea that their defense isn't quite as good. So I would struggle there. If he goes to Miami, I don't think that bothers. I don't think it affects anybody fantasy wise if he goes to Miami for Clowney. But if he goes to Miami and Drake and Kenny Stills would go to Texas, I think that's a big fantasy move. I think that really affects a lot of players on
Of course, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you gave me a few names and you've crapped all over my,
Hilliard.
you crapped all over my Jai. I don't know. It's back to is Baltimore, like with Boykin, it's back same thing. If Boykin's the number one on Baltimore, which I don't think he is going to be, but the number two at Baltimore to me still isn't as valuable as the number two on Philadelphia.
No, absolutely not, because it's a lower passing volume offense.
No, but you told me originally Boykin over Whiteside.
I would, yes, because as of right now, today, Boykin projects to be the number one wide receiver in that offense because Marquise Brown is still coming back from the injury, hasn't fully integrated in the offense, and then after that, it's like 4 tight ends that the Ravens have.
Okay, but again, that's the Chris in you.
No, that's the analyst in me.
Yes,
that is factual.
I hate that guy. I love him because people come to listen to him and not me. But I hate him because he questions everything I want to. Now
I question everything that I do.
What's the chance Willie Snead is the number one in Baltimore?
If that were the case, that would have happened last season, and it never did.
But was he not healthy? He wasn't healthy at the beginning of the season, right?
Yes, he was.
I didn't think he was, but we'll see. Because he's on my waiver wire. I also have Andy Isabella is on my waiver. What's the chances he is a decent?
It's going to take a few weeks in order. I mean, and that whole offense is going to have their ups and downs. I mean, we've already seen that. We've already seen that in the preseason.
Yeah.
I mean, with Kyler Murray like getting adjusted to NFL and all that. So, I mean, I'll have some blow up weeks. I mean, it's essentially like Deshaun Jackson of old. I mean, you might have a couple of weeks where it's 3 for 30, and maybe a couple of weeks where it's 4 for $120 and a touchdown.
All right. My UPS driver is still out there telling me Boykin, but that's I don't know.
Man, better listen.
He drives a brown truck.
Listen, doesn't mean he doesn't know anything about football. He probably has more fantasy football knowledge than all of us because he can probably sit there and listen to podcasts all day. He probably has all the info.
Dang it. You're right. You think Dylan, maybe he's sandbagged a little bit and we have
to
damn sandbagger. You sandbagger.
So all right. He probably has all of that info.
Right, everything. Chris.
Yes. I'm looking at the injury reports, Baltimore's injury reports from last season. I don't see Willie Snead on here.
Okay. I'll give you that. I thought he came over hurt, but maybe I'm thinking they did have some. I guess maybe they had They had wide receivers that were hurt last year, didn't they? They seem to always have wide receivers hurt.
Yeah, but he played. Yeah, he played 16 games.
All right. Well,
but yeah, they did have some hurt wide receivers. John Brown.
And I don't think Baltimore's just going to throw the ball enough. That's my problem.
No, there are reports that somebody came out saying that they were going to try and do like 30 passes a game, but I don't see that.
Me neither. Not yet. Maybe next year. So
it'll take a little bit.
Right. All right, Chris. I have mock drafting to do so I can beat all you guys in the Sportscrew radio network league.
I'm just there to have fun.
Fun.
Cause chaos.
I'm a killer.
My first, pick 6, if I don't get a chance to trade. I mean, if anybody listening to this podcast right now and they have the 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th spot in the league, I will trade you straight up for my 6th spot. Other than that, it's going to be
Lou. That would be Lou, AA, Kevin Hastings.
All right. Any of y'all, you guys follow me on Twitter. We can work out a deal. You can have my spot.
Dylan's out there, but Dylan has
which one? Which spot does he want?
He's 8. He picks after me. He's 8.
I don't want that spot. I want 10 or later.
Right. You're on your own.
But after that, I'm taking Travis Kelce in the first. I'm going to come right behind that. I'm going to take George Kittle in the second.
I took Travis Kelce in the first.
I'm going to take George Kittle in the second. I'll take Patrick Mahomes in the third.
Again, we're way over now. But Would you trade Kelsey for Adams?
Like, you mean I'd be getting Adams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Unless it's like tight end. Is it? Well, let me qualify that. Is it tight end premium or anything like that?
No, it's just the best tight end in the league. You don't need premiums for Kelsey to pay off.
Yeah, you do.
The guy who picked Adams obviously before I picked Kelsey, but the draft fell to him to where he has quite a few wide receivers. The draft fell to me to where I don't have any wide receivers, but I have Kelsey. His weakness is tight end, and he originally offered me Keenan Allen, and now I said no. I'm not. I said I could have drafted Keenan Allen, and said I took Kelsey, so that's not a trade I'm willing to do.
Sure.
I think because to me, Keenan Allen has a shot at being just like all the other wide receivers I have. Yes, he could be a top 10, but he also could be lower. That team's made some changes, and there's healthier people all around. But
sure.
So I told him the only thing I would even be interested in, and I'm not even sure I'd take it yet, would be Adams for Kelsey. Because my problem there is I have a big benefit by having Kelsey, where if I trade Kelsey to get Adams, I now am weak at tight end, and my wide receivers, I have one better, but I'm still weak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's kind of, yeah. Malpal saying it's lonely at the top picking. I don't know. I mean, Malpal, again, I know you're a baseball guy. I mean, in football too, somewhat, but I don't know. I think right now there's two people to choose from at the top, right? I still don't. Okay, three: Kamara, Barkley, and McCaffrey, right? I mean, I don't think you go wrong with any three of them. But I've in my three drafts, I've yet to not see Barkley go number one. So, have you seen a draft where Barkley doesn't go number one yet? A real draft. I've seen.
Yeah.
You have? Okay. I mean, it's and they even in a PPR, I just think in a PPR, Barkley and McCaffrey. Now, I happen to be more on Team McCaffrey because I think, especially PPR, but I don't know. I think they're going to load the box on Barkley, but I think
they did that last season.
I know.
And he still did it.
Well, all right, whatever. But we've had that argument. Defensive people have had time to prepare this year. So last year they didn't know what they were preparing for. Chris, I had a great time.
Always.
And I do have to mock draft, so I'm ready for this draft. Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern for all
Remind me
on the. Okay, I'll send you a reminder. But make sure you're there because Dylan and Malpal and everybody in the chat room tonight, should be there. It should be a good time.
Yeah.
We'll. I don't know. Maybe we'll pop on and I'll put a link out there if people want to get on and talk some shit during the draft or something.
Oh boy. Yeah. That's what we need.
I usually draft worse, but I'm willing to give that up for some entertainment. That's me. Mm-hmm. That's me. I do anything. I will draft a shitty team for the show.
Gotcha.
We have proven that in the past. We have proven that I can draft pretty crappy when we're on the air. So, All right, Chris, where can we find you? What do you have going on?
You can find me on Twitter at Chris Allen FFWX. I've been on vacation. My last piece actually came out. Just vacation from writing. My last piece came out last Friday. So I have from like then until I think my first streaming article for the season comes out next Tuesday. Because we actually are doing like streaming articles for week 1. So I've got a few days to take off, and then after that, we're into the season. So I'll be doing in-season content for 4for4. I'll be doing in-season content. I just got the email yesterday, but I'm doing in-season content for Number Fire. And then I'll be doing some video content, I think, for Fantrax. So, yeah, just taking a little bit more of a rest before we, take this wild plunge into the 2019 season.
And I'm excited. We have Buckeyes this weekend. I'm a college guy.
That's right. Yeah. I
am so excited to have real football. And I consider college football on Saturdays real football, and I'll be watching. So that's pretty cool. I have nothing going on except this show, some other times where I go on the air for no reason whatsoever. It all goes under my stream, but then Lou posts all my shows on the Sportscrew radio network. But I have to tell you, the A-hole hour is taken off, Chris. People want to listen to some. People want to listen to 4 a-holes talking about a-holes for a-hole hour. I'm just saying, the sports crew, he's been giving me some stats. We're getting 50, 60 listeners, and we're only on our 3rd episode. I'm pretty excited about it.
That's awesome.
So, and it is a stupid show. It's stupid good. That's all I got to say. We talk about anything. It is definitely adult, and we have a good.
I'm sure
it's fun, and we have sports people. So, hashtag us, a-hole hour and, questions and things like that. We'll be recording another one this weekend, and we've been putting them out the first of the week every week. So I would recommend that. And other than that, you can find me on Twitter at @fantasyfan. Send me an email at justafantasyfan@gmail.com. And that being said, I'm going to play us out. With my a-hole hour intro that I had made, and then I'll shoot us out with our fantasy fan, just because. I mean, I can't help it, Chris. I feel bad. I don't want to cheat on you. I don't want to lie to you.
Okay.
Maybe I can squeeze you on the a-hole hour one time, just so you can, maybe you could be an a-hole with me. We're here. You're too damn nice to everybody. I have to be the a-hole.
Yeah.
Malpal, Dylan, Kevin in Hawaii, JR Ross, who had to go to bed. Thanks for coming out the chat room. Guys, I'm going to play us out. I will see you next Wednesday. Unless you listen to the a-hole hour, then you'll probably get to hear me before that. Chris, say goodnight.
Good night.
Big asshole.
Not an asshole.
Asshole. That asshole said I could stop that asshole. It's an asshole. Asshole. Christmas asshole. All of you little assholes are gonna go nowhere in life. Stop running, you little ass. You're asshole. Passing notes, you little asshole. Oh, that's very clever. Asshole. You had it coming, asshole. Pigeon's asshole. Food stamp. Asshole. Asshole. Asshole.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan Podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.